Imagine for a second just stepping into a wrestling ring where men and women have literally shattered their hips, blown out their knees, broken their necks for decades just to earn a spot.
Right, decades of like grueling work.
Exactly. And standing across from them is this 21-year-old kid whose primary claim to fame is, well, accidentally setting off fireworks in his bedroom and barking at a webcam.
I mean, it sounds like a glitch in the Matrix, honestly, or some kind of bizarre fever dream. But it is the very real, very lucrative new reality of sports entertainment.
It really is. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are looking at a massive tease that just dropped on August 18th, 2026, because YouTube megastar IShowSpeed just announced to his fans that he is returning to WWE and, I quote, very soon.
Yeah, that very soon is doing a lot of heavy lifting.
It really is. And to make sense of how this is even possible, you have to think of the modern WWE landscape like a massive crossover comic book event.
Oh, that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah, because for decades, you'd get a little celebrity cameo. A pop star would wave to the crowd, maybe slap a bad guy, and then they'd leave. But now, internet creators are taking over the canon.
Huh.
They're using their massive digital footprints as this, cheat code to bypass the traditional system. They're becoming the main characters.
Which represents just a total structural collapse of how professional wrestling has been cast, promoted and consumed for the last century.
Totally. And to figure out the mechanics behind this shift, we've pulled from a really massive stack of sources today. We've got the inside track from the wrestling dirt sheets, Fightful, Ringside News, Wrestle Purists, Wrestle Talk, WrestleZone, Wrestling Inc.
The whole gauntlet.
The whole gauntlet, yeah. And we are crossing that with mainstream global coverage from the Times of India, a really comprehensive Wikipedia biography tracking his entire life, and because we just have to look at the hype machine, a highly sensationalized YouTube gossip video that is basically writing its own unhinged fan fiction at this point.
Which, honestly, that fan fiction is actually a crucial piece of the puzzle here. Because our mission today isn't just to report that a streamer might get back in a wrestling ring. It's to analyze Speed's evolution from a viral internet personality to a legitimate in-ring physical threat.
Right.
We need to separate the wild internet rumors from the backstage reality and really explore what his return means for the future of the industry.
So let's start with the tease itself, because the way this news dropped says a lot about modern media. There was no official WWE press release, no grand press conference.
Done it all.
The breaking news just comes from a recent Twitch stream. A fan simply asks him about returning. And Speed looks right at the camera and says, bro, I'm coming back to WWE soon, bro. Don't worry, bro. WWE Speed is coming back very soon.
Notice the absolute certainty in his delivery there, because if you contrast that with just 2 months ago, back in June of 2026, he was a guest on the Pat McAfee show.
Right, I remember that.
Yeah, and when they asked about his WWE future then, he was really hedging his bets. He said he wanted to take WWE seriously and immerse himself in it at some point, but he made it clear he didn't want to just be a one-off gimmick.
Yeah, he wanted to be respected.
Exactly. So the fact that his hesitation is completely gone by August 18th, that tells us that a deal hasn't just been discussed in passing, the ink is likely dry, and creative plans are actively in motion.
Which brings us to how he even earned the right to negotiate those plans. Looking at his physical progression in WWE, it is quite literally like watching someone use that cheat code to level up in a video game.
Oh, definitely.
Because he didn't start at the bottom of the wrestling ladder. He started in April 2024 at WrestleMania 40 as a literal NPC, like a non-playable character.
The Prime Bottle.
The Prime Bottle. He was heavily disguised as a giant Prime hydration bottle before taking a massive RKO finisher from Randy Orton. And then he unlocks a new level and gets to announce draft picks. By the 2025 Royal Rumble, he's basically a mid-boss. He's an actual entrant in the match, teaming up with Braun Breaker to eliminate Ogus before Braun just completely spears Speed in half.
Well, and every single one of those appearances was a calculated mechanical stress test by WWE management.
Wait, let me stop you there. What do you mean by a stress test?
So in professional wrestling, you have to prove you can be trusted with another human being's body. When Speed took that RKO from Randy Orton at WrestleMania 40, that was a physical test to see if he could take a bump.
A bump, meaning?
Right, which is the industry term for falling safely onto the mat without injuring yourself or the veteran throwing you. Randy Orton is a seasoned pro, but it still requires immense trust. That RKO proves Speed could take physical direction.
Okay, so the bump was the physical test. What was the Royal Rumble then?
That was the psychological test. Could he handle the sensory overload of a live stadium crowd of 50,000 people? Could he navigate the chaotic unpredictability of a match with 30 moving parts without freezing up?
And the answer was yes.
The answer was yes. Management was conditioning him. And, maybe more importantly, they were conditioning the audience to accept him as a legitimate physical presence, not just a mascot waving from the front row.
So he passes the physical and psychological stress tests.
Yeah.
But to understand the hype around this very soon drop, we really have to look at his last major appearance, WrestleMania 42 in April 2026.
Right.
Because this is where the internet rumor mill completely detached from reality. Our YouTube gossip source leading up to that event was absolutely unhinged.
It really provides a perfect window into the economics of modern attention, and why the truth is often just less profitable than a really good lie.
The claims in this video were wild. It stated that Triple H had officially booked a one-on-one, no-rules match between Speed and LA Knight. It alleged that Speed signed the match contract using a Golden Prime bottle.
Of course.
And that he had submitted a medical waiver to WWE legally clearing him for animalistic behavior.
I mean, come on.
And that he was trading with a mystery legend to completely delete LA Knight's career. All of this supposedly because Speed spent 6 months harassing LA Knight with brass knuckles and literal barking at ringside. Why do millions of people believe this stuff?
Because the YouTube recommendation algorithm practically demands it. Content creators making these gossip videos, they aren't incentivized to report factual wrestling news.
Right, they just want the clicks.
Purely click-through rates and viewer retention. If a creator posts a video titled like, IShowSpeed might wrestle LA Knight in a standard match, it gets buried.
Nobody clicks it.
Exactly. But if they invent the story about a legal waiver for animalistic behavior, the sheer absurdity of the thumbnail makes people click. The algorithm rewards escalating stakes. So creators are financially driven to invent these wild storylines because that is what pays their bills.
Okay, so the internet demands a chaotic, no-rules bloodbath. But the reality of what WWE actually booked at WrestleMania 42 was heavily manufactured to protect him from himself. Speed didn't get that one-on-one match.
No, he didn't.
Instead, he was put into a 6-man tag team match. He aligned with a faction called The Vision, which was Logan Paul and Austin Theory after Speed was supposedly cursed by Danhausen. Which, side note, having an internet streamer cursed by a wrestling demon in face paint is just peak modern entertainment.
It really is.
So they fought LA Knight and the Usos. What was the strategy there?
Well, the structure of that match is everything. A 6-man tag match is basically the ultimate set of training wheels for an inexperienced performer.
Because you have 5 other guys to do the heavy lifting.
Precisely. You have 5 veteran workers in the ring. The term worker refers to the professional wrestlers executing the match, and these veterans can call the match in real time.
For anyone not deep in the wrestling weeds, calling the match means they are basically choreographing the fight on the fly, right? Like whispering instructions to each other while locked in hold.
Yes, exactly. They dictate the pace, they tell Speed exactly where to stand, and they absorb the most punishing hits. It completely hides Speed's lack of cardiovascular endurance for a 20-minute match.
Ah, that makes sense.
Right, while setting him up for 1 or 2 explosive athletic spots that just look incredible when they're clipped for TikTok.
And they certainly got that explosive spot. The climax of that match was brilliantly booked. The Vision loses. Logan Paul, playing the ultimate villain, turns on Speed. But then LA Knight and the Usos, the guy Speed was just fighting, step in to save him.
It was a great setup.
It perfectly sets up Speed to climb the turnbuckle and deliver this massive frog splash to Logan Paul right through the announce table. It was a viral masterpiece. But I have to ask, Triple H is a notorious traditionalist. He respects the old school grind. Why is he giving a 21-year-old YouTuber this massive WrestleMania moment?
Because WWE is weaponizing Speed's digital footprint. Think about the 6 months of psychological digital warfare Speed waged on LA Knight before the event.
Oh, yeah.
Speed was barking at him during his own Twitch streams, really blurring the lines of reality for an audience of millions who do not watch traditional cable wrestling. WWE didn't have to spend a single dime of their marketing budget to reach those millions of viewers.
Speed's algorithm did it for them.
Exactly. Triple H is using him as a bridge to a demographic that simply doesn't consume 3-hour television broadcasts anymore.
Okay, I get the business logic. Triple H loves the ratings, loves the free marketing. But surely the locker room absolutely hates this.
You'd think so, yeah.
I mean, you have guys who've been sleeping in rental cars, wrestling in National Guard armories for $50 a night for a decade, and some kid swoops in and gets a WrestleMania spotlight. Especially right now in 2026 when fans are openly experiencing massive celebrity fatigue.
It's a real issue right now.
We've seen Travis Scott, Pat McAfee, Jelly Roll all get involved recently. People are exhausted by the pop culture drop-ins. But our dirt sheet sources say Speed is the exception. Why? Are veterans like Drew McIntyre just playing corporate ball because management told them to praise the new cash cow?
That's a fair suspicion, but the evidence actually points to genuine respect, which is incredibly hard to earn in that locker room. Yeah, backstage resentment usually stems from celebrities who treat the ring like a promotional prop. They show up at like 4 p.m. on the day of the show, do a quick rehearsal, and leave.
Right, no commitment.
Exactly. But reports indicate Speed actually relocated to the WWE Performance Center in Florida. He spent weeks training intensely behind closed doors. Drew McIntyre specifically went out of his way to publicly praise Speed, not just for his explosive athleticism, but for enduring the physical toll of the training without complaining.
Wow. It's wild to me that a kid who became famous for playing video games is now earning the respect of literal giants. And I think we need to contrast Speed's youthful vitality with the grim physical reality of the old guard.
It's a stark contrast.
One of our sources brought up a report on Paul White, the Big Show. He is an absolute legend of the industry, but his current run over in AEW is brutal to read about. Over the last 6 years, he has had 11 surgeries, knee replacements, hip replacements.
Yeah, it's rough.
He literally went on record saying he would have fired himself 3 years ago because his body is so broken down. The only reason Tony Khan keeps him around is for his mentorship value to younger talent.
Which really exposes the brutal mechanics of the traditional wrestling model. For a century, wrestlers have mortgaged their physical futures for the entertainment of the fans. They break their bodies down, taking bumps 300 days a year in developmental territories, then the independent circuit, and finally the main roster.
Yeah.
By the time they reach legend status, their joints are essentially dust.
Think about your own social media feed right now. How many traditional athletes do you follow compared to content creators? Because if we look at that ratio, are we seeing a fundamental changing of the guard here?
That's the big question.
Are healthy, hyper-athletic internet stars who built their fame from comfortable gaming chairs replacing the broken-down legends who sacrificed their hips and knees for the business?
It's a very provocative question. It's not necessarily that the old guard is being forcibly pushed out.
Yeah.
Like we said, Paul White is still valued for his mind, even if his body has failed him.
Right.
What has fundamentally changed is the path to entry. The currency of modern entertainment is attention. In the past, you built attention by traveling to every small town in America and wrestling every night for 10 years.
The grind.
The grind. Today, IShowSpeed commands more global attention from a single stream in his living room than most wrestlers garner in a lifetime. He essentially used his digital footprint as a cheat code to bypass that entire grueling developmental system.
And to fully grasp the magnitude of him saying a WWE return is coming very soon, we have to look at the sheer scale of that cheat code. We have to look at the unprecedented clout he wields globally in the summer of 2026.
It's massive.
WWE isn't just getting a popular Twitch streamer. They are negotiating with a global cultural ambassador. Let's trace his origins because the contrast is staggering.
Well, he started making waves around 2021 with gaming streams, and it was characterized by a very specific brand of chaotic, reality TV-style broadcasting that felt completely unpolished and, frankly, dangerous.
Oh, the 2021 Fortnite stream is legendary. He's playing with a kid whose username is AC Daddy. The kid is begging Speed to help him win the match, explaining over the microphone that his mom is kind of homeless.
Well, I remember that.
And Speed just visibly fights back, laughter practically vibrating in his chair, while another player scolds him. It became this massive viral meme. That specific stream was actually rated 10 out of 10 on IMDb. It briefly beat out the famous Ozymandias episode of Breaking Bad in user ratings.
Which is insane.
And the craziest part, in 2025, he actually reunited with them on stream, and the kid's mom scolded him for laughing.
It just highlights the unfiltered, unpredictable nature of his early content. But the leap from that bedroom to his 2026 status requires a massive logistical and economic scaling.
Oh, for sure.
Look at his milestones from just this year. In January, he hit 50 million YouTube subscribers. But he didn't celebrate in his room. He broadcasted live from Nigeria for his 21st birthday.
He also completed a 35-day Speed Does America tour, streaming 247. He did a Caribbean tour where he was greeted at the airport in Jamaica by actual Junkadoo dancers, like a visiting head of state.
Yeah, a literal parade.
He even broadcasted live from inside the Great Pyramid of Giza. He was the first content creator to ever do that. How does a 21-year-old even negotiate streaming from the pyramids?
It requires an entire corporate infrastructure. You're dealing with the Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities, international broadcasting rights, satellite uplinks, and massive security details. He is no longer just a kid with a webcam. He is operating with the logistical weight and budget of a major television network.
And his integration into global sports is unparalleled. He's heavily tied to the 2026 FIFA World Cup. He's a playable character in the video game FIFA Heroes. He released an official World Cup song, World Cup Champions, which he physically performed at the tournament's closing ceremony. He even launched his own custom Doritos flavor swap chip this year. But, with that massive global profile comes the darker side of international sports.
Unfortunately, yes.
During the World Cup, the mainstream global coverage reported that FIFA actually had to launch a formal investigation into racist abuse directed at Speed by an Argentinian fan during a match against Cape Verde. We're just reporting what the sources state here, but it was a major international incident.
Which really proves he is no longer just a guy reacting to video games. He is at the center of international geopolitical sporting incidents. If we synthesize all of this back to his very soon tease, a potential WWE return, say, a highly anticipated singles match against Logan Paul, isn't just a wrestling match.
No, it's huge.
It is a collision of two massive corporate brands.
Right. WWE, a multi-billion-dollar publicly traded juggernaut, needs Speed's international, multi-platform Gen Z audience just as much as Speed wants the legacy athletic validation that comes from performing in a WWE ring.
It is a totally symbiotic relationship driven entirely by the economics of the modern attention span.
So what does this all mean? Let's recap this incredible journey. You have a kid from Cincinnati who built an audience by jumping over speeding supercars in Miami, accidentally detonating fireworks indoors, and occasionally getting banned from platforms for his chaotic outbursts.
Right.
Fast forward, and he's executing top-rope frog splashes at WrestleMania, hanging out with Cristiano Ronaldo, and performing at the World Cup closing ceremony as a global ambassador.
It proves that the very definitions of athlete and entertainer have not just blurred, they've been completely rewritten. We are witnessing the blueprint of future stardom unfolding in real time. The traditional boundaries and gatekeepers simply do not apply to him.
And that leaves us with a final, unaddressed concept to ponder. Think back to our comic book analogy at the start. If self-made digital creators like IShowSpeed can use the cheat code of their massive followings to bypass their traditional, grueling developmental wrestling territories.
Skip the line entirely.
Yeah. If they can skip the 10 years of sleeving in cars and command main event spots simply through the sheer force of their social media gravity, what happens to the pipeline?
It fundamentally disrupts the century-old industry model.
Exactly. Will the wrestling schools of tomorrow be replaced by content houses in Los Angeles? Will the future WWE champion be determined not by who can wrestle the best or who pay the most dues in the ring, but by who can manipulate the algorithm and break the internet the hardest?
It's a crazy thought.
It makes you wonder. When the dust settles, who is actually booking the matches? You, the fans with your views and clicks, or the executives in the boardroom? Keep an eye out for that very soon return from IShowSpeed, because this crossover event is just getting started.